Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today in this video I will be showing you how to contribute to open source projects. We'll be giving a live walkthrough of React Native library which is developed by Facebook engineers, and also covering what all things you need to take care while submitting a pull request. I have already made a video on getting started with open source and a complete roadmap, as well as how you can earn from open source contribution. Go check out that video link at the top right corner or also in the description of this video. If you haven't subscribed this channel, please do subscribe and share. So let's start. Steps for successful open source contribution starts with finding a good project, which in my case it's already Facebook React Native library. So the beginning will be starting from, if I can start with giving you a live example how to start. So if I go and check Facebook React Native GitHub. So it start with finding a project. So I will go to the repository. So here in this repository there are, if you can see, there are a lot of tabs. One is code, where the all code repositories and files will be present. Another tab is issues tab. So in issues tab you will be finding all the issues related to this library people have raised, as well as internal team has raised of meta engineers. Third tab is pull request. Pull request is basically if you have raised any fix or any bug fix or any kind of enhancement or improvement to a particular file in this particular library, you have to raise against the master branch or the main branch which currently it's in running in the production. So this pull request basically helps you, not only you as well as the moderator also, that what all things are changed in the file and what's the description about it or the change log. So it allows moderator to check what all the things are changed based on the summary which you have mentioned in the conversation. So this part is there. Fourth is the actions, which is basically the CI/CD check. CI/CD is continuous integration and continuous deployment checks. So it runs once you raise, commit up changes and raise a PR. It runs on a PR to do the sanity work like indentation, prettifying, finding a common bugs related to if you are a newcomer and not following the guidelines. So these kind of checks runs. Fifth tab is the projects, and this is a wiki. So it's basically a kind of a home page, you can say. And this is the security tab, and the last one is the insights, how many pull requests you can get, the whole insights analytics part. So for us only two segments are important, issues and the pull request. So mainly the issues part. So now coming to the readme section, we have to find out. So if I am seeing the React Native PR, now I need to go to the bottom and need to understand, because every company, every library, every open source project has a different thing, different setups and the guidelines, community guidelines, contribution guidelines, development setup guidelines. So you need to first understand and go through with those guidelines and understand how to do the setup. And you can basically understand also if you are new and not familiar with the particular library or the open source project, but you want to contribute to those projects, you can totally get the idea from here what it actually do. So here it says React Native brings React's declarative UI framework to iOS and Android. With React Native, you use native UI controls and have full access to the native platform. So here are the contents. So one is the requirements. So what requirements you need to run this React Native. If you're building your first React Native app, then you need to follow these guidelines. Then there are a couple of documentations related to the setup and how the React Native website looks like. These are the upgradation related information. Now the informative part is how to contribute. So the main purpose of this repository to continue evolving React Native code. So it allows us to contribute. So now you need to understand the code of conduct. So what all things you need to take care before going to the any particular library. So the second part will be the read the readme file before jumping into the code or issues section. Okay. Now the third part will be the read the code of conduct. Now the fourth part will be to read the contribution guidelines. So if we go here and check the contribution guideline, you will understand how to contribute, because every library, every open source project has a different contribution guideline as well as a code of conduct. So here you will get the idea how to contribute if you are a beginner and you are not familiar how to raise a request. So you will get the whole information. So they have mentioned how to pick the good first issues, replying and handling of open issues, reviewing a pull request, and how help people to write test plans. So they have given a whole documentation. You can go through it and start the contribution of it. So I will just show you and just show you the good first issues tab. And here are the step-by-step guide for raising a first pull request. So the fifth step will be how to open a pull request guideline. So this actually comes at the end, because once you are ready with the changes and you are ready to push into your branch and then raise against the main branch, then only you require. So we'll keep this in the end of the pipeline. So we'll remove from here. We'll put it to the end. Now coming to the again this part. So we'll start with the issues tab. Now we have already read the readme file. Now jumping to the issues tab. So find a issue from issues tab. Here generally I will prefer, if you are a beginner, then go for a filter of good first issue, because generally that is tagged with a label of good first issue for a beginners only, because the moderators tries not to put a heavy load, so they generally tag small tasks to good first issue labels. So if you go and filter it out, you can see a lot of good first issues which you can pick it up. So there are a lot of labels. If I can walk through with all the labels, so you can see there are accessibility related, API related. If you are not from the front end background, if you want to contribute to any API related core particular thing, or you are specific to accessibility related domain, you can try to specify and filter it out on the accessibility part. So there are bugs related. If you want to pick selective bugs and want to contribute to it, you can check it out. Then there are a lot of components you can dedicate and contribute to the components also. So there are a lot of labels created here. So I will just filter it out with good first issue. So there are plenty of good first issue which you can look into it and pick it up. I will just go with any of the, so if I can check, generally tries to see if there is any pull request already raised, then you don't need to work on it because it's already somebody has already picked up and raised a request for it. So generally see with some comments if there is mention, or if somebody has already written that you need to pick it up, then only pick that, because sometimes what happens, internally moderators have either discarded those issues or fixed internally in the next pipelines. Now the part is, once you have selected any of the issues, so in my case I will just go with the issue which I have already fixed. So this was the issue which I have already fixed to the React Native library. So the issue was basically add flow types to accessibility android example.android.js file. So once you have selected any issues from the issues tab, now there is a description always attached to it. Either sometimes they attach the screenshot or the video recording or the GIF file, so that you can get a better idea if there any is UI related item or change. So in my case, accessibility android example file does not have a proper flow types. Without flow typing enforced, it is easy for bugs to be introduced when making changes to this file. This issue details the work to enforce flow typing in this. So the steps here are mentioned. Basically they want the first item to be add the flow annotation to accessibility file, run flow status and fix any flow errors. So as I mentioned in that, it's a flow is a static type checker and it shows you the code coverage also. So when you run flow status and fix any, they show you the any error, if there is any file error, any variable naming error or any static type checking error. So they will throw the error and show you the code coverage also. So they have given me an example also for the reference. So the bonus part was update the file to using strict local flow, and the expected results. So this is the part, this is the outcome which they want to be from your code. So they want is annotated with proper flow types. Okay. So as you can see, this is under the label flow, but it's also a good first issue label, so I picked it up. So generally how you ask the moderator to pick it up, so I tag the moderator and just write a one simple statement that I would like to take this up, as this is my first contribution to this repository. If you can guide me, it will be very helpful. Or if you have already done contribution, you can write would like to pick this task or issue, because sometimes what happens, moderators have not posted, or sometimes they take these issues to the internal team, not allow public peoples to contribute. So it's always better to ask the moderator before doing any code change and raising a pull request. It will save your time and effort. So I got the reply from the moderator. So she said me to start working on it and submit a PR and tag her as a reviewer. Then I faced couple of challenges in setting up in the local development setup. So the sixth part will be get setup. locally. Before to that, it will be easier if you can read the development guideline, setup guideline. So if you can go to this code section, and bottom they have the documentation part. In the contribution guideline, and they have mentioned how the okay. So once you have the setup locally running, you can do comment back to the moderator if you are facing any issues. So in my case, I was facing some issues with while running the command, so I tried to communicate. So this is a good platform. You can communicate with the meta engineers and have a two-way discussions with them, and understand the problem deeply, how the code structure is written, how the commands are running into the project, how the whole ecosystem of the code is done. So you will get an idea from their perspective also, that how they have maintained the code, and this will give you an insight how you can modify your code in personal project as well as in a professional project. So after having a discussion with the moderator, so what you can do is that once you are ready with which issue you have to pick it up, you can just go to this code section, click on it, and you can just copy it if you are using SSH or HTTPS to clone this repository. Or what you can do, because sometimes some people allows some of the projects allows you to clone this repository, and some allows you to fork and pick it up from there. So from here you can do, and then you can copy this and put it into the terminal, and do wherever you want to do git clone, and then paste this URL. It will already get cloned to the whole repository of ReactNative will come to your local system. Here I have my project already cloned to my local system. Okay, so now the setup is locally done. So here I will add clone or fork the repository, and then do setup locally. Okay, now if you have already forked and cloned it, so the step which is remaining now, you have to work on the finding the issues. You have already find the issues, you have cloned the repository. Now coming to the project part, so here it's my code. Now as this issue is mentioned accessibility android example.android.js file, I will just go and find accessibility android example. So this is the file which is located inside the JS accessibility and accessibility android.js file. Okay, now the what change I need to do is basically it does not have a proper flow types. Okay, and so first item is I need to add the flow annotation, and then I need to run the flow status command to check if there is any error, and then the bonus point was to update the file to use flow strict local. So this is the, so I will show you this. So once you have done the changes, like in my case I have already done the changes here. If you can, so this is my pull request. So this was the earlier file. I have added flow strict local. As you can see here, it's not written, so I will just copy and paste it here. Okay, so once you have done the changes here, so what you need to do is you need to create a remote branch. So I will just show you how to create a branch here. Git branch. So currently I am on master, so now I need to check out -b, and then I need to create a branch. So I have already created my branch pr add flow type. So always remember, while creating a remote branch, you need to be very specific how you are naming your branch, because it's sometimes it's very important, like how you are giving. So generally what I prefer is that if I'm raising a PR, so I will just raise a feature PR, so I will just give a PR slash and what issue I am fixing. Based on that, so suppose here I am adding a flow types to accessibility Android, so this branch itself will clear anybody that what change this branch contains. So here you can do the branch name, git checkout -b branch name, and do the changes to your branch. And once your changes are done, do the git status to check your changes, verify, and once it is showing here it's red because you have done any changes to this file. Now copy this and then git first add this file, okay, and then git commit. So commit is also very important because here you have to give a message. So message is important because sometimes lot of moderators runs a check on the commit message how you have given, and generally we prefer commit message should be around 52 to 60 character limit, and it should be self-explanatory that what change you have done to this particular commit. And once your commit and the commit message is done, so git push origin and your remote branch name. Okay, so once you push to the remote branch, it will automatically show it to your GitHub repository, and you can raise a pull request. Just in my case, I have written Sid Verma 32 PR, and against the Facebook master repository I have raised. So once, so you can just go through with how to open a pull request also. So if I can add here step, do the changes in your local repository and push it to it origin, then read the pull request guideline, and finally raise the pull request to master repository, master branch. So you can see a lot of details are there, how you can install Git, how you can clone, whatever steps which I have said just now, those steps are already mentioned. You can go through it and just check it out. Now once I have done tried to raise a PR, so they ask couple of information, like they ask summary of the change. So here I have written accessibility Android example.android.js does not have a proper flow types without flow type. So this was the summary because it was similar to the issues which the moderator has raised. So this was the issue which I was trying to fix here. Now the change log will be couple of things here will be. One is section will be the general, because it comes under the general file, and I have added a check here of flow notation, so I will put the second tag here as added. If you have any updated or removed, you can add the check here as removed or added or updated. So in both the cases I have added the flow strict local, which was the, if you can see the issues, it was the bonus point. Now the test plan you need to write, how they can test your code. So I have tested the code, so I run the flow check Android command, and it shows me the no errors in the code. Now once you raise the PR, you have to sign a CLA. So CLA. So this basically CLA is basically you have to sign a contract kind of thing, where you declare that okay, it's a kind of code of conduct kind of thing, where you sign and allowing Facebook that I am done the changes, and you can run the tools and perform checks on my changes. So as soon as you raise a PR, Facebook GitHub bot will run into it, and it shows you some of the message action required processes and all those things. You have to wait for it. If you see any error, you need to work on that, and don't forget to attach the reviewer, because if you can see in my case, moderator has already said to me that you can submit a PR and tag me as a reviewer. So don't forget to tag the reviewer, because this will actually help your PR to be get reviewed and merged faster. So once this checks runs, then analysis bot runs on different platforms, like one is on iOS, and check whether any issues or any impact on the iOS was there or not. Then Android, lot of other architecture present of Android, they run checks on every architecture and the engines, and see if there is any differences in the size or any impact, and if there will be any, they will throw the error here, and it will stop from getting reviewed. So once all these checks run, the Facebook bot will give you an notification, thank you for signing your contributor license agreement, we can now accept our code. So this was the CLA. And then code analysis result will be sent, and will show me some of the error, like I pushed props is assigned a value but never used. So this analysis bot will throw a error or highlight your issues in your code. You need to figure it out and resolve those error, and do a one again commit, like I did refactored code based on flow error. I push to it. Now the CI/CD check, this analysis bot will run again and will judge your code based on the changes. After that, once all these bot checks are done, now moderator will review the code. So as she mentioned, thank you so much, it looks pretty. I left a couple of comments with questions. So take these comments as a constructive feedback, because this will help you in understanding the system, as well as how React Native or any open source project works internally, and what's the thought process or the perspective of the maintainers going on, and what they are planning as a future, what all changes they are thinking from the future perspective. And it does not mean that you cannot counter their feedback, as here you can see she mentioned, why did this need to be added? Is accessibility live region supported in text? I don't see it listed in the docs. Then I countered, that I have referred to the accessibility library region. So this is the file I referred and quoted to her that I have seen here. I have already picked this code and the changes from this file. Then she followed up and then said me thanks, and it looks partially supported at the text at the moment, because sometimes happens they also forget what all changes are there and what all supports written. So it's always better, if you are confident on the changes, you can just counter to it and have a discussion with the meta engineers. So there are a lot of constructive feedback, like she said we can use import here instead of const required. Then I took one in changes like pulling out the inline CSS to a particular variable and then putting into it. So these were the comments. So once all the comments were resolved, the moderator will import the pull request, and then this pull request will get merged into the master and finally getting closed. So the changes and the checks you can see here, these were the checks and these were the file changes. So it doesn't depend on the how many files changes you are doing, neither it depends what change you are doing, whether it's a small change or it's a big change. If you are a beginner or a kind of moderate level, you can do a small changes like some people do in documentation related changes. So it doesn't matter whether you are doing a small change or big file change and how many file changes are there in the pull request. It always give a positive look when you put that you have already contributed to meta engineers and it into your resume or LinkedIn profile. It always give a different shine to the recruiters also, that you are doing something out of your common task which every developer is doing. So the file changes, if I can tell you here, is I have implemented RN tester block, and then how the accessibility Android example state could be there, then the TypeScript related thing, and then pulling out this inline CSS part, and which I got a good feedback from the moderator also. So these are the couple of things which you can do the changes and you can learn from it. So the final part was, once the CLA is signed and every change is submit a pull request. Okay. CLA sign is there. Do modification based on the comments and push it back to origin. Remote origin. So this were my current changes are live here. If you can see the current master main repository, you can see my changes are still there, and I pull all this touchable container, every changes are there. So it makes us feel kind of proud also that my code is getting used by worldwide library, ReactNative library. Everybody is consuming, and this is the live page. You can go to the ReactNative doc page, and inside that accessibility part is there. So here all the changes are live. So I think that's it for this video. Please do subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching.